Hello, everyone. This is Deep from ContextQA, and today we have a guest who is a well-known face in the software testing industry, who has a vast experience in the software testing. And we would like to introduce Chaitanya Sethi. Hello, Chaitanya. Welcome to our show,
Thank
webinar
you.
with the ContextQA. Yeah.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Okay, thank you very much. So, for the audience, we are going to go over lots of new topics in this series, but the highlights is the software testing myths and what are the things involved into the software testing, Salesforce testing, and much more. So, rather than waiting a lot, let's start on the main point. And I would like Chaitanya to introduce himself and provide some background information of yours, please.
Sure. Sure. So, as you mentioned, Deep, I am Chaitanya Sethi, and I'm currently working as a senior Salesforce expert with MTX Group. I have around 7 years of experience in the Salesforce and the QA domain. And
Mhm.
talking about my testing experience very briefly, I have been on both manual and automation end, and my major experience has been in the automation side. I am my hometown is Jaipur, and luckily I am working here as well. And of course, as you mentioned, my aim here in this session is to debunk a lot of myths that have been revolving around software testing. And of course, when I say debunk the myths, I mean to say that debunk or falsify those myths with exact logic. So yeah, that's the aim for today.
Perfect, perfect. So thank you very much for highlighting this. We will cover lots of those of myths, but can you provide some information about what is the correlation between the Salesforce testing and the Jaipur? Because I see lots of activities around Jaipur and the
Yeah.
Salesforce, lots of testers, very good testers, very
Yeah.
good, well-known speakers are from Jaipur.
Yeah.
And so before we go into the much more detailed topics, I would like to learn more about it.
Sure, of course. You rightly mentioned that there is a lot of opportunities in the Salesforce domain in Jaipur, and it's famously said, of course, not officially, but it's famously said that Jaipur is currently the Salesforce capital of India. And there are so many Salesforce consulting firms here, right? And the correlation, of course, I don't know the logic behind it, but one company started in Jaipur a lot of years back, and from there on, a lot of companies, new companies, were derived from the resources of the first organization. And somehow, the spree of Salesforce consulting firms started in Jaipur. And I think right now, I can confidently say there are around 25 to 30 good Salesforce consulting firms in Jaipur, and it's growing every day. So I don't know how it happened, but for sure, there is a vast pool of organizations and talent in Jaipur for Salesforce.
Yeah, so Jaipur is a beautiful city to visit. So
Yeah,
yeah, super excited to see the more companies to grow and more talent
yeah,
to come from the
yeah,
Jaipur. So thanks
yeah.
for explaining this. So tell me about few of the software testing myths which you have experienced.
Yeah, so of course, Deep, there are numerous myths going on in the market, and honestly, to be very fair in this session, when I started my career, I was also bombarded with all these different myths, and I was honestly a bit anxious at the starting. But luckily, I had a senior chap who did sit with me over a cup of coffee, and we did discuss this for an hour, and he did help me debunk these myths. And naming a couple of them, the first one is that and it's quite a popular one, which says automation testing is or will replace manual testing completely. That's the keyword. So and the person who says this, I think, is a person who has never actually worked as a software tester, because a person who's actually working as a software tester would never say such a thing. Then another myth that I've come across a lot is that a completely 100% bug free software is achievable. Being in this domain for 7 years, I can confidently say that's never possible. And one more myth that I have in my mind right now is that testing is just about finding bugs and nothing else. Right? It's very very far from the truth. And you know. One thing that I remember, I mean, I do not remember all of them right now, but one thing more that I remember is that uh, it says testers are not required in agile or DevOps. I mean, they're just specific to the testing practice, which is also not true.
Yeah, so these are the very well-known myths that we see here and there on the LinkedIn posts, and then thousands more comments of
Yeah.
20,000 more likes. So these are the topics going round and round, and there is no conclusion yet. And still, industry is evolving. People are finding the better ways to taste it and provide the value. So let's take it one by one. Why why it is important to handle such myths or counter those myths, and how to get over it. Because let me put these examples. So you are saying a myth, there might be other testers, fellow tester is saying myth, but your manager or the VP of engineering or director of engineering might be the one category that you mentioned, they were never been a tester and they don't know and they haven't been in your shoes. How you fill that gap, how you how you take care of those, removing that myth, so you can also make yourself visible to the leadership team in your organization.
Yeah, Deep, actually, that's a very good point to discuss because, though testing adds a lot of value to the projects, but what I've seen, especially when the client interaction happens, it's a very, very common notion that, okay, why to spend money on software testing? This is something that the people at our end can do in the UAT phase or in the user acceptance testing phase. I think that the reason behind it, this particular notion is less educated. I mean, there is less education around the same. So what we have done in a couple of projects is that we do prepare some data and some some workflows around it, which prove the value of test. I mean, which adds the value of testing, and it specifically mentions that how professional testing differentiates from amateur testing, right? So of course, if even just me going and saying that what professional is better than amateur won't help. So what we do is that we come up with a couple of graphs and a couple of data or statistics that prove that if you solve a bug in production or in later stages, the cost of fixing is very much high as compared to when you fix it in the earlier stages. So examples like that, I mean, there are n number of reasons we give for that. But all in all, I think you need to educate people more about how QA adds value to your system and how saving that little amount of money in the starting is not good as compared to spending a lot in later stages. So yeah, I think that is a plausible explanation behind it.
No, yeah, thanks for mentioning that. So yes, uh, as per our opinion or in the context QA in general, that we provide the visibility to the leadership team by adding this all this work that QA team does,
Right.
providing the all the recordings, all the traces, all the activities that the QA team does to the leadership team, so they understands that activity has been happened. Okay, the QA team already put their work behind it, and then it also shows the day by day, week by week, month by month progress in the automation side as well as the testing side, and how many bugs they reported. So leadership team cannot ignore this fact that QA team is spending good amount of time. So thanks for mentioning that. So awareness is very, very important, but at the same time, data should be translated to the leadership team on the regular interval, so they can understand, right? Yes, so let's take care of the second another myth, right? More taste means better quality. That we see in the companies that bragging about 10,000 test cases, 15,000 test cases, 20,000 test cases, and they are like, oh, we have automated even more than that, all these test cases.
Yeah.
What is the story behind it? Why it is good or why is it bad?
I think the reason behind organizations or resources doing this is to show more productivity, right? Because productivity is driven by data. I mean, how would your leadership analyze that? What amount of work have you been doing? So I think it's a way to present more productivity. That is, I did create a lot of test cases. I did execute a lot of them. I logged so many issues, right? But the best practice or the person who knows what is happening in a project for testing, she or he will always go ahead and look at the quality of those test cases. And when I say quality, I mean what is the coverage of those test cases. And we have seen, I myself have seen situations wherein a couple of resources, what they've done is that one test case was broken into four different test cases, and that is how the count increased, right? But that, in short, creates more trouble in testing it because those test cases are not correlated to each other. They are not making sense at one go. right? So as I think, not I mean, it's not just fault of the resources who are working or who are contributors. As leadership or as clients, we should also understand that more the better is not true as far as test case designing is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be correlated with quality. So number one. Number two, the myth is that if there are so many test cases, the quality is better, right? So reiterating my point, it's not about the quantity here. The coverage has to be in tandem with the user stories or with the functionality. So if the coverage is good, if all the different types of test cases, for example, sanity, smoke, end to end, if all these are covered, then I think we are good to go. The count shouldn't matter in that case.
Mm-hmm. No, thanks for bringing this one that you mentioned, right? More is good or bad, but we need to constantly check back, right? How much value it is adding, right, to the company. It may create a complete mess as well, because you will end up having the duplicates, lots of duplicates, unnecessary test cases, which or those test cases doesn't add any value, right? How do you handle those test cases? So, like for example, you need to automate or you need to create automation, but before you do the automation you need to have those test suits there or test cases created completely. So based on that you will be creating all these test cases which already there. How practical it is to manage those 10,000 test cases and then start automation journey? uh, do you have an experience with like migrating or creating automation for those large test cases, and what should be the normal approach?
So basically, of course, the practices may vary from organization to organization, but the standard industry practice, the standard industry practices say that if you have testing scope, and let's suppose if you have 100 user stories in your case, then depending upon the story pointers and depending upon the complexities, the number of test cases are designed for every story, and then the scope for automation has to be decided, right? Everything in a system cannot be automated. Of course, there are some restrictions, and you have to identify and accept those restrictions.
Mhm,
Correct. So, as far as automation is concerned, the test cases which are to be run frequently again and again in sprint to sprint, they should be automated to save the time. So, as
mhm,
far as automation is concerned, that on what basis these test cases are automated, it's very important to understand the scope and the expectations of the client or the project as well,
mhm,
right? The one thing that we usually, and it's a mistake of software engineers or software testers, usually we have, some of us are very passionate with technology. I mean,
mhm,
I've seen people who want to automate everything, right?
mhm,
But we fail to understand that tech is somewhere related with business. So you
mhm,
have to understand the business expectations as well, that if the business requires you to automate a particular thing, then you do, right? So identifying those test cases is purely dependent upon the scope and the amount of effort that you're going to put in. And
mhm,
one thing, of course, I have myself used CQA, the ContextQA tool. And one thing that a tool like yours provide is that the level of effort that goes into automating is comparatively less as compared to actually going ahead and coding those things. It's
mhm.
comparatively less. So I think that can be a very good use case for such situations.
No, thanks for mentioning this. I want to highlight a very important piece that you mentioned, right? The tech, like a software assets, are too much technical, and then their interest is aligned in the solution, but sometimes it doesn't adds the value to the business side. Okay, and I have heard many organizations where their team or software testing lead is doing the POC. It shows very good results in the POC stage for automating 4 to 5 test cases, those use cases. But when the test cases increases, there is no solution there, as well as there is that POC is not translating into the number of test cases going to be automated over week, months, or the year. So lots of testing team that we are meeting with, they are not able to achieve their automation target that they have set. And that aligns with what you mentioned is team is trying to solve through the programmatic and finding different ways. Either problem is already solved or they do not have enough resources, and that the planning doesn't go very well. Okay, so before that, yeah, so my next question is, And also, I want to highlight the previous things is a large number of test cases, right? When we talk about like 10,000 test cases and all. So ContextQA developed a feature where it can find the duplicates within the your test case, and it provides you the like a number of percentage as well. So what we are trying to do here is before you start automating, you compare your test cases and find the duplicates or label it using AI. So AI will label it properly, like you mentioned about smoke testing, regression testing, or particular feature wise. So you can differentiate which feature category it can falls into, but also you can find the duplicates as well. So this will help you to reduce the number of test cases needs to be automated. And once it's reduced, then you have a limited scope, like you mentioned. And then within that scope, you will start automating using context QA, which will be like a 10 or 15 times faster. So yeah. So let's move forward to the next topic. Um, why why it is not true that testing is just finding bugs? What what's more included in this topic?
Uh, uh, this is very, because the term tester says that you just have to test, right? So one thing, of course, software testing is the most critical part. But one thing that I can for sure say that a software tester's job is it is one more important thing that a software tester has to do, that is providing enhancements, right? So,
Mhm,
for example, if you are a software tester on a project, and
mhm,
let's suppose a login functionality is being developed or a create account functionality is being developed,
mhm.
and of course you have to understand that the people who are coming to you and asking you to develop a software, they do not have technical expertise. That is why they're coming to you, right? So a person who's not related to the tech world would come to you and tell you that, you know what, I want to create this module wherein I want to create a user with username and password and all the other details, right? Now, as a software tester who is a seasoned software professional, I mean, testing professional who has been working in the domain for a while now, he or she should say that, you know what, when you are implementing password, let's make sure one thing, that you make it more secure, right? Alphanumerical characters or the limit, for example, right? This was not a part of his requirement, but you suggested this enhancement to him that makes his system more robust. Or, for example, you tell them that, you know what, there can be SQL injections on your username feed if you do not put a character limit on it, right? So this is something that a software tester or a technical person can suggest, right? And as software developers, the development people are more concerned with the technical aspects of the project. But as testers, you're a bridge between the technical team and the client team. So you have to provide these enhancements to them. So all in all, a software tester's job is to make sure that the best quality system is being given to the client, even if the client doesn't know what they're actually expecting out of it, right? So you have to basically be the torch bearers of quality for any project. So I can confidently say, after saying all these words, that software testing is not only about software testing. There are a number of other things associated with it as well.
No, thanks for explaining in this detail, right? Yes, software testing is much more than just only doing
Yeah.
checks. And when I talk about software testing, it is many more items involves like requirements to the like understanding the product, and then testing, and then edge cases, and then write-ups, and
Yeah.
then follow-ups with the different stakeholders. So more communication. So it's a lot more than just only the testing piece of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
So now I want to highlight one important piece where you mentioned about automate testing replaces manual testing completely as a myth, right? That yes, we know that testers are there for a reason. They brings a lots of value to it. Why testers are not accepting of the new tools and the trend in the market to empower themselves uh, to deliver the better value faster, because because we have seen the world is like in the DevOps world, software is being delivered very fast, and if we don't use the new technology, we are going to miss the bus, right? Or we are going to miss the opportunity. So can you explain me, because what there is a myth, but there is another conception is as well, and how to find the like a hybrid solution in between? Can you explain me there?
Yeah, sure. And when I say, of course, when we say that automation cannot replace manual, it is also implied that it doesn't mean that you need not learn new technologies or you need not learn new tools, right? The current time or the coming time is going to be that of the term which is quite famous these days, which is a full stack QA, right? So you need to know manual, you need to know automation, you need to know performance. A flavor of every sort of testing vertical needs to be learned. Number one. Number two, I think as humans, we are all afraid to change when we are in the comfort zone, right?
Mm.
A person who's fresh out of college will be more prone to learning new things as compared to a person who has been in the industry for a while and has been doing something for a while now. So they are a bit afraid and a bit, anxious for a change because they feel that, what, we'll have to learn something new and then there are going to be some new troubles or challenges associated with it. And why not continue doing this? So to somehow adjust that particular thing or to somehow ignore learning a new thing, they say that, what, the tools are not good or this particular thing is not good. uh, they create some problems. There can be a number of reasons, right? So that is one very basic problem that we have seen or that I have encountered, that people are uh, a bit resistant to change or a bit resistant to accept new things. Plus there is it's sort of a it's in the air in the testing industry that the tools are, of course, they provide value, but these tools are not that much powerful when you compare it with code-based automation tools, right? Of course, I would not name any, but yes, that is what the rumor or the things are in the industry right now. That yes, these tools are powerful, but they are not as powerful as code-based tools. So I think if we are able to clear those things along with logical explanations, I think this problem can be easily solved.
Nope. Yeah, you highlighted very, very important questions, right? That yes, team should adopt, and it is not about it about the technology or replacement or anything. That as we move forward into the new world, new constantly changing technology and evolving technological space, we need to adopt the new technologies and then get our things done or work done in more efficient manner than the previous one. So, and it doesn't matter what you use at that point, whichever the suits your situation, you should use it and move forward. And yeah, so this is wonderful stuff. As you being the Selenium developer, you being the testers, you being the manual tester side as well, accelerated tester, and many more titles you can carry on your shoulder, from the Salesforce testing to the general web application testing. How justifiable this comparison when the any individual person compares with this like Selenium's capability and taking on their personal stuff versus general like a general tools capability? So let me explain in a such a way that, like, I can say that okay, Go language is super fast and it can do everything, and the calculation wise it is very performant and everything. So Go language is wonderful, but I don't know Go, or I don't know Go language such a way that I can implement by myself. So I am bragging about the Go language, not about my skills or my ability to deliver that work. And then when we compare with the tools to deliver that work, we are comparing Go language's capability with that one. But in the practical world, this is not going to be happen because no one is giving you the opportunity to spend 6 months or 12 months to deliver that value. Same analogy I have seen with the Selenium and Java. People say that Selenium and Java can do X, Cypress can do Y. Yes, those technology has a value or potential to do X, Y, Z stuff. But I seen in most of all the organizations that tester doesn't get that much time or resources they need to deliver that value. So how justifiable that calculations from the developer's perspective when they compare the tools or the technology in terms of the delivering the value? Can you elaborate on it?
Yeah, sure. And I think there are two pointers for answering this particular question. Number one is awareness, right? When people have been working on Selenium WebDriver, for example, or on a particular tool for a while, they somehow feel that this particular technology is the best for me, and I am not sure whether the other thing is going to be that perfect or not, right? That is number one. I think creating an awareness around the tools, for that matter, be it any tool, is very important. That you have to tell them that, what, you feel that, okay, this tool is not that powerful, or for example, this language is not that powerful. Give us your scenarios. Give us some time to POC and let us show it to you. Let's have an open discussion and then let's come to a conclusion. Number one. Number two is that even if you convince them that yes, this particular tool is good and it is as good as the code-based tool, they feel that when you are actually coding and when you're developing a framework, for example, in Selenium, the entire power lies in your hand, right? If you want to implement a particular method, you need not wait for somebody to implement that. One challenge that the code-based tools, I mean, the people who are actually coding and writing their own frameworks, they're a bit hesitant towards the tool is because they have this question or they have this hindrance in their mind that let's suppose if I am using some tool to script a test case and I somehow I am in unable to click on a button on a specific some rare edge case occurred and I was not able to click on it. So of course,
Mhm.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log a case or raise a complaint with the particular tool organization, and then they'll get back to me with the resolution, right? And
Mhm.
everybody is okay with waiting for 12 to 24 hours for the resolution. It is understandable, but they somehow have this fear that what if this organization takes more time, right? So all in all, the bottleneck. So you
Mhm.
have to, if a tool wants to be, I mean, if you want to grow into the market, if you want to really capture the market, the issue resolution process has to be very fast,
Mhm.
right? So if as a test automation developer who is using a code-based tool, for example, Selenium, is convinced for these two pointers. That is number one, that this tool is as good as the other tool you are using, and number two, if you face any issue, we are here, but we are here as quickly as possible. I think if these two things are given to a particular person, I think they would not resist from using a tool because anyhow the tools have proven to take very less time as compared to actually developing those scenarios.
Mhm. No, thanks for mentioning that. So yes, a developer experience, user experience is a huge, and yes, it needs to that any tool needs to deliver the value. So they shouldn't be the blocker, or those tools shouldn't be the blocker, as well as it provides a real information or real support that when they need it, so they can continuously to deliver their work. So thanks for mentioning all these things. So another topic I would like to discuss is test automations solves right all testing challenges. So that is the myth that like a test automation, if you do the automation right, all your problems will be gone. So yes, that is the myth. Can you elaborate that particular myth as well as what are the more things that are still left beyond than the test automation?
Yeah. So when we say that automating or test automation solves all the problems, I can give you a very recent example. There had been a lot of discussion around Chat GPT when it came, and there was so many memes or videos wherein the jobs are going to go, and I mean all these different things, right? And similar to what I've heard from my parents a lot of years back, then when the internet revolution happened, it was the same story, right? That automation is going to take up everything, but today it's far from reality, right? So even if automation is going to take a lot of things, you still need people who can automate.
Mm-hmm.
Number one. Number two, that when automating, things can never be completely automated. The reason being that when you think from the business perspective, there are some scenarios which will not be executed again and again, right? And they will take more time to script or to automate. For example, if there is a scenario and if that scenario is just to be run once, right? And if I am able to go ahead and manually execute it within 5 hours, for example,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if I automate it, and if it is going to take 8 hours or 7 hours, however passionate you are for technology, it doesn't make sense. The leadership will not give a go ahead because the hours or the time or the business also has to be kept in mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So automation is most suitable for sanity or regression scenarios, the scenarios which are to be run again and again in every sprint or in every release. So
Mm-hmm.
that is somewhere I feel that a person who is looking forward to grow in this particular vertical or user tool always has to keep in mind the blend of both manual and automation.
Perfect. No, this is very important point, right? So it is more about the architecting your
Correct.
testing strategy rather than just jumping onto the solution.
Exactly.
So either you take a tool or the Selenium or any tools as a code-based tool or low code, no code, doesn't matter. unless you have a very proven or very solid testing strategy. So yes, you need to scope it out, what needs to be automated, what needs to be tested consistently, what is the success criteria, and then forward you should implement it rather than just jumping on it. Otherwise you will end up spending lots of energy and waste lots of energy. So one important point you mentioned about the timing, that if it takes to test entire application in 4 hours and automating one of the test cases in like 6 to 8 hours, then how justifiable it is, and what is the ROI you can bring it back, right?
Mm.
Lots of the customization points that you mentioned previously, that when developers are using those tools or those frameworks, they see the power of the flexibility of adding the code or customize as soon as possible. But often the same person or those same folks do not consider the timing in this calculation. And can you elaborate on it? Because I find lots of gaps when those topics are being discussed on LinkedIn or any social media platform, because they are being discussed only as a single point, that okay, this tool is good and it allows the customizable, but it doesn't provide the context that okay, this tool is good, it is a flexible if you know that, or if you have a time for that, or if your team providing you the resources for that, or if you have enough skill to scale that application or scale framework. No one discusses all those topics in the conjunction. So can you elaborate on it?
Yeah, sure. What I've seen is that even if the leadership has, I mean, they like a tool after a presentation or something and they push for it, then also if the people who are actually working as testers on a project, and if they are not ready to accept it with open mind, most of the cases the tool will not flourish, right? So as software testers, you have to understand that the thing that I'm planning to do, is it in tandem with what the business requirement is, right? So you have to understand that in order for me to automate these test cases, what is going to be the ROI or return on investment on these test cases, right? And if using a code based tool, for example Selenium, or for that matter for any other tool, if I'm going to invest 5 hours, and if using this tool I'm going to invest 3 hours, then I should be more business oriented as compared to my tech oriented. And I should go ahead and choose a tool that solves this particular problem in less time, right? Because in tech, the one most important thing that we've seen is time, right? The timelines are all frequently very, very strict, very, very stringent. So you always have to keep in mind the business perspective as well. So if you're able to deliver this particular test cases or this particular product in time, then always go for a tool that helps you to achieve your target instead of your personal choices.
No, this is very important questions or important points you mentioned about time, the calculations, and delivering the same value. Now the question comes for the leadership team as well, because when leadership teams are deciding any tools or technology, they goes with the free open source tools which are available in the market, and those aligns with the topics that we have discussed. Is yes, those are free, but they often do not consider the skill set of their team members as well as the time it goes into the development. So can you elaborate, like you already touched all these points of the ROI, the scope, and skill set, but can you provide the perception why, or what should be the ideal, like you already mentioned about the best practices, so what should be the best practices for the leadership team, what kind of checklist and the metrics they should consider when evaluating the technology for the test automation, either it is a code based or low code no code technology?
The most important parameter is to see that the new resources or the new people who are coming into this project, how fast will they be able to pick up this technology, which will be further used for automation, right? This is very important because it's not only about the current set of resources that you have. If you are planning to expand your team in coming times, if you're planning to get more projects, you have to understand your current skill set, and then you have to see that will this tool be comparatively easier to understand as compared to the other one, right? So if I'm able to build a practice, or if I'm able to train my folks quickly as compared to some other tool, then of course that tool becomes my choice.
No, thanks for highlighting this. Yes, getting up to the speed or hitting the ground is very, very important, because time is limited, and as a team owner, or you need to deliver the solution, you cannot spend months and months in just learning and getting up to the speed. So the sooner you hit the ground and start delivering the value, it is very, very important. So let me ask you one more questions about the best practices. Can you elaborate on with the current AI world, in this changing dynamics of the DevOps, Agile, AI, and different mindsets? What are the testing best practices would you suggest to the teams who are still figuring out to achieve the automation, or not only the automation side, but being more efficient?
I think one of the most important thing that I have seen has been lacking for the testing teams is that the testing team should be involved in the entire project process right from the very start, that is sprint zero. Right? We have seen, especially the automation team, to be entering into the project at a later cycle when development has started or it's at the end. And as a result of this, we have seen a lot of times that a couple of things are missed, and then things are rushed at the last end. Right? There are different technical practices that are recommended for testing. I would not like to mention because it's a long list. But one thing for sure that I can suggest is that the testing team should take this initiative and be a part of the entire IT cycle or the entire project cycle right from the very start.
Nope, that makes completely sense. Yeah, bringing the teams into the like a loop, or into the discussions, QA teams early in the process is very, very crucial to give them the enough time to understand, to absorb the requirements, ask questions, create the test plans, and then start delivering the value as soon as the development starts. So this is very, very crucial point. So I think we covered majority of these points. Um, can you just, before we close this conversation, can you elaborate, is Salesforce testing different than any other web application testing? If yes, then why? Mute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So one of the best part about software testing is that I mean, when you compare it to development, if you are a part of one technology in development, you cannot switch to another technology without going through a rigorous training, right? But as far as testing is concerned, the testing principles remain same for web testing or mobile testing, or for that matter, Salesforce testing, right? So the practices are same. But yes, Salesforce testing is a bit different when you compare it with other sort of testing, because you need to have a good domain knowledge before doing Salesforce testing, right? And number two is that as far as Salesforce testing is concerned, the things are a bit configurational, right? And you have a lot of power while testing them. So as a software test, as a Salesforce tester, it is very important to educate yourself and then go ahead and do the Salesforce testing.
No, thanks for mentioning that. So yes, domain knowledge is very, very important, and yeah, as far as you have the domain knowledge, then your experience with the other web application testing translates into the Salesforce testing. So that's where it will not be a different. But yes, you need to know the domain ins and out about the APIs of the domain, so you can test thoroughly from the different aspects of the Salesforce side. So thanks for mentioning all this very critical information. And what are the like if I say in just one word, right? If you if any title that implies to software tester, what would be that title that you suggest? Because I do have one title in mind, but I would like to know for you is, for the software tester, what would be the title that you should be suggesting that justifies all the work that tester does in the current time?
Would say invigilator of quality or invigilator of project or of a software, because a software tester has to be a strict teacher when it comes to the entire development process. uh,
Mhm.
so when an exam is happening, the invigilator has to be very alert that what is happening in that particular zone or in that particular bench or in that particular room. So similarly, a software tester has to be very, very careful right from requirement gathering up till the project is delivered. So all in all, a good software tester or is always a good invigilator. So I think that is what is coming to my mind right now.
Yeah, you hit the right point. I see the software tester is much beyond than the tester. Sometimes I see it's a product owner because that person knows ins and out about the product, what it should be, what it shouldn't be, and at the same time delivering the results of the testing. And when we talk about these technologies, either coding based or low code, no code, I see those as a tools to justify their role, because at the end of the day they are making sure or they are reporting the quality and making sure it matches the requirement or not. So yeah, having or being taken care of these many tasks in the day-to-day life, they need a better tools so they can deliver the values in 8 hours of time on the day-to-day basis, rather than struggling with the time and restricting their progress in their organization. So yeah, I value a role of tester a lot, and I see they have much more potential because they carry a uh, lots of types of knowledge and lots of types of deliverables in the day-to-day task. So yeah, so thanks for highlighting this. I really want to thank you, Chaitanya, to be on our show, answering all these questions and providing your or sharing your experience with us. We are really thankful to you.
Thank you so much, Deep, and it was wonderful talking to you. And of course, I'm not that much experienced in this industry, but my little attempt that is in my organization or on LinkedIn or in for that matter, while talking to other people, is that the problems that I faced when I was a fresher, at least when somebody comes to me with those troubles or those problems, I should be able to help them. Of course, I won't be able to fix everything. Nobody is, but at least the things that you face, the other person should not. So this topic, that is the myths around software testing, is very close to my heart. So thanks for giving me a chance to speak on this. And I think even if 5 or 6 people uh, change their perspective about software testing, be them the software testers or other practices, I think my and your job is done with this session. So I really hope that this session changes, and if the changes, even for some people, it's okay, because that's a chain reaction. So yeah, all in all, it was a great interaction, and yeah, so hope to see you or connect with you again.
Yeah, and I really love the way you mentioned that your experience, if it can be useful to the newcomers. And I really super excited for your upcoming YouTube series with the
Yeah,
videos and the playlist that goes
yeah,
over those experiences, those challenges that you faced, and you being highlighting all these technical problems or organizational problems and taking over. Because I think experiences are the ones that people learns very fast than any
yeah,
theoretical or any tutorials or any Udemy courses. So
yeah,
we are looking
yeah.
forward to see all these videos as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, we are super excited to learn from your experience as well. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.